Hello everybody and welcome into another week of the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. Making a stop tonight at a short track in the cornfields. That's right, we are at Iowa Speedway with another good one for you in store tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, we're kind of in that middle portion of the season where really it's kind of the grind of the season. Drivers are just trying to keep races, consistent, but keep them moving by so that you can get kind of that last push once we get towards the end of the regular season. Still a while before we get there. So let's dive right into the action that we've got here tonight with a look at your starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be David Traylor, puts down a 23.492. Colton Hardy will start to his outside in second. And then it's going to be Charles Van Schaik back in third. Mark Beverly on the outside of row 2. He starts in fourth. Evan Schilling in the 18 machine. He'll round out your top 5 here tonight. It's going to be Dylan Paws back in the 6th spot with Kenneth Redinger. Vernoma Motorsports in 7th. Jesse Wise in 8th. Justin Parham in 9th. And Haas Beverly, who, boy, he needs a change of luck after a rough week last week at Talladega. He will start in 10th. Joe Yates back in 11th. It's Jesse Calloway to his outside in 12th. And then back in 13th, you've got Clinton Woodby with Jonathan Dominics, the Canadian driver in the field, back in 14th. Row 8 is going to be Jonathan Herbert alongside Jay Stinson. Bill Hales back in 17th with Michael Newman in 18th. Rick LePage in 19th. And Keith Prince rounds out your 20-car field here tonight. Taking a look at your race info, it's the QH Design 225 from Iowa Speedway. Again, 177 laps. Going to be the distance around this short track, which is just under a mile in length. You see it right there, 0.89 miles is 1 lap distance around Iowa Speedway. 72 degrees outside, 39% humidity. Clear skies, winds at 9 miles an hour. Lap 50 is going to be the magic number here tonight. That is when the stage break will be. These drivers have 95% fuel in these cars, 4 sets of tires, 1 faster pair of fixed setups as always, and then 3 green light checkers if we were to need them, although I have a feeling here at Iowa we probably won't. This is one of those tracks that, it races obviously like a short track, but things have a tendency to get spread out really quick. Mark Beverly feeling good. Iowa, one of his favorite tracks, so keep an eye on him tonight. Again, he'll start from the 3rd position. And then there's other drivers, of course, who maybe don't feel quite as confident about Iowa specifically, but certainly still looking to see if they can have a good run here tonight. And so as the pace car will make this lap here and then eventually work his way down the pits, we'll get this race rolling officially here tonight. And by the way, if you're tuning in, of course, we appreciate you being here. If you missed last week, go check out the finish of that one. Colton Hardy first win of the season at Talladega Superspeedway. That one was a thriller, and I think we're going to get more of the same here tonight. But it's going to be all about tire saving and who can hold on to their race car as the run goes on and the car gets loose. All right, here we go. Pace car going to make that left turn. And for the first and only time this season, green flag is in the air. We're racing at Iowa. Lap 1 in the books, and it goes to the 54 of David Traylor. Colton Hardy had a bit of an issue on that first lap, got really high, washed out of the groove a little bit. Had to catch it. It cost him a spot, but nothing else from there. Charles Van Schaik settled into third. Mark Beverly settled into fourth. And then Evan Schilling, who's back in fifth, has Kenneth Redinger to his inside in sixth right here. Jesse Wise going to try to fight. And, you know, really, I think it's interesting because that outside is very viable here at Iowa. And it's interesting, most short tracks, it feels like that's kind of not the case. Maybe Bristol, that's kind of the same boat. But besides that, I mean, you think of Martinsville, you think of any of the other classic short tracks, it's kind of a one-lane racetrack. Richmond, another decent example where it's really, really difficult to pass on the outside. Now, I wouldn't expect that to be as much of the case here tonight at Iowa. I've seen drivers make this outside work before, especially if you run way up top by the wall. But we'll see what everybody does here tonight, what adjustments they make. As, again, you can't tweak the setup of the car. All you can do is try to change the style of driving in the lane that you're running, as Clinton Woodby is going to dive in and take that spot from Haas Beverly in the 22. And then the two of Jay Stinson already up 3 positions from where he started this race at. Michael Newman, who sits back in 15th, he's another driver up a few positions from where he started this race at. But it is still all David Traylor. Colton Hardy, though, I mean, man, what a boost of confidence he's got to have after getting the job done last week. I'd be anxious to see if he can follow it up with a back-to-back here tonight. And the reason I say that is because I've seen this across pretty much multiple different leagues is it doesn't really matter what tracks you're good at and what tracks you're bad at to a degree when you grab that first win. When you get that first win, the next couple weeks, you have kind of a surge of momentum like nothing you've ever experienced before. And so that's really important here for a guy like Colton Hardy, knowing that, you know, he still, in theory, could have a chance at trying to close the gap on this championship points battle. I guess I should say the battle for the playoffs. Of course, Hardy's going to have himself in a good spot, just about locked in now after grabbing that win, as long as he's able to make the rest of the races. But there is the onboard view for the 97 of Hardy. I know we pulled up 2. We'll go to the second one in just a moment. But again, Colton Hardy, look how smooth the wheel movement is. I can promise you that the throttle movement's more of the same, as you got to be really, really careful getting back in the gas here. These Xfinity cars have high horsepower, especially at these short tracks. And the big issue with exit, especially as those rear tires wear out, is just spinning the tires. And the more you spin them, the more they wear out. Turn 4, a little bit more of an arc on exit than it is on the exit of turn 2, where, of course, the back stretch is straight, the front stretch is curved. And so that makes up for that difference there. David Traylor on the outside here. Is he going to let Colton Hardy go? Appears that he is. So Traylor decides to let his teammate go. Not sure if he felt that he was faster or if more so just wanted to save a little tire, and that's why maybe he appeared a little slower. Either way, a couple spots back from those two is the 69 of Jesse Wise, who's carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. Jesse, the driver out of Dudley Shoals, North Carolina. Going to see if he can grab his first win of the season here tonight. Maybe even his first stage win of the season here, depending on how he keeps this run going. I mean, you see he gets passed right there by the 87 of Yates, but still really, really good speed early here from the 69 machine of Jesse Wise. And then, of course, back to the front, David Traylor, the second of the 2 battling for the lead, who now does sit in second, down a spot from where he started. Of course, was your pole sitter. Driver out of Conyers, Georgia, is just taking it easy. And we've seen this week in week from David Traylor. I mean, it's nothing new. He likes to just sit back, save tire. And then as soon as everybody else starts to wear out their stuff and fades back, he gets on the charge, gets on the horse, and starts going forward. So we'll see if he can find a way to make that happen here again tonight. Got himself in a good spot right now, but he's got to try to stay within reach of his teammate here. Don't want to let that lead get too big and not be able to make it back up before we get to the end of the stage break. Here's Joe Yakes in the 87. As further back shell Jesse Wise there. Looked like he got a little bit tight off the corner. But the 87 of Joe Yakes, haven't seen him in a couple of weeks. Of course, didn't get to see him last week at Talladega. Wasn't here the week before that, but it's good to see Yakes back out on the racetrack. One of your Championship 5 drivers from last season. And he'll be looking to make another appearance in the championship event this season. He's got a lot of work to do to get to that point. Of course, he's in good point standings, but I think these drivers, especially the ones who kind of already know that they're going to be in based off the performance to this point in the season, that kind of shifts your focus from, okay, I just need to make the playoffs to, heck, I got a shot to go out there and win this regular season championship. We know we've got a bunch of teams on the line. Teams like to battle each other for the team championship. So each and every race, especially as the season goes on, starts to become more and more important as everybody wants to have a good run as the season progresses. 13 of 177 laps now complete. Again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. That stage break is going to be on lap 50. First stage break and only stage break for that matter of the race. And I would expect that these drivers should be good to go on fuel to that point. I don't really see that being much, if any, of an issue. It'd be more so, can you hang on in terms of tire wear to that point? And the lead for Colton Hardy right now is about 0.6 of a second over the 54 of David Traylor. And Traylor, of course, led a few laps or so, a handful early before Colton Hardy was able to catch back up, take that lead over, and has not looked back, at least not yet. Joe Yates, though, has been the man continuing to move forward. Got around Charles Van Schaik, and now the 87 of Yates has himself up into that final podium position. And we'll go to the cockpit view here. I want to show you what the dashboard telemetry is here for Joe Yates. Again, we talk about it. It classifies as a short track under a mile, but boy, it runs like a track a lot bigger than that. Over 150 miles an hour down the front stretch, still over 100 miles an hour down in the corner. And then if they rocket down the back stretch here, going to be more the same as he gets to just about the lower to mid 150s before it's back on the brakes. And trying to slide through 3 and 4 nice and clean. Back up the track he goes. 17 of 177 laps now complete. And this is going to be a pretty long one for these drivers. I don't know if you remember back to the broadcast last week, but one of the things that I was mentioning was, with the new format this season, of course, the big change being the new car, but also some of these races being a little bit longer. Now, in terms of mileage, this isn't that long of a race. I mean, you saw the name of the race, the QH Design 150. Again, this is not a very long racetrack, but, when you're still running 20-something seconds a lap time at a track where you've got to be so focused and so rhythm-oriented pretty much every lap of this race, I mean, it can get kind of daunting, especially when you get to the latter half of this race. And you start feeling it, maybe not physically, but certainly mentally. For Colton Hardy right now, all he's feeling is fresh air because he is the leader. As the 54 trailer now goes to work here. I guess I should say that the other way around. The 87 of Joe Yates is the one going to work here on David Traylor as he's trying to take that second position away. Yates has been just absolutely crawling his way through the field. He's up 8, make it 9 positions now from where he started this race at. And you can see right there that I think Traylor kind of realized just how much faster the 87 of Yates was. He didn't give him too much of a fight right there to let him by again. And it's a veteran move by David Traylor, and really all the drivers that you see do this, we've seen Van Schaik doing this a couple times already here tonight, there's no point in sitting here burning up your stuff early, trying to fight a guy that's a little bit faster than you. Just let him go. You still got 157 laps in this race. So instead of getting too much into a battle with the guy right now, let him go, and I'm sure he'll remember that. Late in the race, David Traylor maybe a little faster than the 87 of Yates. Who knows? Maybe Joe Yates kind of pays him a favor back and says, hey, you didn't race me too hard earlier. I won't race you too hard now. Mark Beverly back in the 5th position right now. Again, down a spot from where he started this race at. And then the battle that we've got going on right now is the battle that's just behind Beverly between the 2 of Stinson. Actually, that was a 20 of Redinger. I take that back. And Jesse Calloway, and it looked like right there, Redinger cleared up down the backstretch, and that was really, really close. And now that'll put the 2 Jessies side by side, Wise and Calloway. And Justin Parham just behind them in the 19. I figured this would be a track that we would see a lot out of Justin Parham as well, but so far, I don't know if it's the lap traffic or if the speed just hasn't been found yet for the 19 machine, but sitting back again in the top 10 still, but a little bit further back than we're used to seeing him. How about all the way back in the 17th position right now? It's the 10 of Dylan Paws. I know we talked about Haas Beverly earlier. Well, these two had a little bit of a run-in last week, if you will, and I think it was a bit of a miscommunication from what I heard post-race, but basically you had Dylan Paws and Haas Beverly riding in the back in line. All of a sudden, Dylan saw a lane open, went for it. Haas Beverly wasn't really leaving him a lane. And again, Haas Beverly, and I don't say that in negative connotation, Haas Beverly's riding in line, so he wasn't leaving a lane for anybody there. He's just riding in line. Dylan Paws tries to dive low, hooks Beverly, and caused a little bit of a stir between the teams after the race. But, overall, it's 2 really talented drivers. And it's the blame was kind of swinging both ways from both sides, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was a mistake on, I gotta think, Dylan Paz's end, but it depends on how you look at it, I guess. But either way, point being, that mistake cost Haas Beverly, and Dylan Paz certainly may have made another rival, so we'll see how these two race around each other here tonight. But Bill Hales, who sits back in 18th right now, down a position from where he started this race at. A little bit of a different look here on the 53 machine tonight. Looks like he's got a new sponsor and an all white and yellow paint scheme. As, thought about maybe giving a little bit of the chrome horn right there to Dylan Paz through 3 and 4, but thinks better of it, and he'll cut him a break. And you've got Rick LePage back in 20th, and Keith Prince, who doesn't appear, I don't know if he was even able to start the race. He's currently being scored out of the race, as you can see. And again, I'm not sure if he was even able to really start the race. Not exactly sure what happened to Prince. But either way, that's a tough break for Keith. As we look at the track map, and for Rick LePage here, of course, he'll be the first car that's in danger of going a lap down when the leaders eventually get there. It looks like he's currently about half a track or so behind your leader, Colton Hardy. And so with 27 of 177 laps now complete, the gap between first and second, 0.8 of a second. Joe Yates is trying to chase the 97 of Hardy down. He's still got some work to do, but I think he's got a very good shot of getting there. If that gap doesn't continue to extend, that is, I mean, in terms of time at least, he's got plenty of it. It's just going to be, can he find that rhythm? And, I mean, he's already burned so much tire up from getting to this point. You wonder what exactly he has got left. David Traylor in the chat says, let's go 54. And then John Darnell says, don't believe I know any of these drivers, but good luck, guys. And Austin, you don't need me to tell you, but you're the best in the business. Appreciate it. Have a good call. Darnell, we certainly appreciate it. It was good seeing you on track last night in PGR, and we appreciate you stopping by to check in on these guys. So it'll be 20 laps to go here in stage 1 when they cross the line this time. 30 laps complete and about 20 minutes or so of racing so far. And it has been, for the majority, all Colton Hardy. Again, it was David Traylor who took the pole and led a couple early. It's really been about it since. David Traylor fell back to second, slowly fell back to third. That's where he's kind of planted himself for now, as we still wait to see that major fall off from these Goodyear tires that we're expecting to see at some point. 23 is Shake, and Mark Beverly separated not by much, as also here comes Jesse Calloway trying to track down these two. Calloway running just behind Redinger, and boy, you can hear the throttle right there. Let's go back up to Mark Beverly here right on board around turn 1 and 2, and listen to the throttle here as he's got to so elegantly pick it back up to not spin the tires. Does a really, really nice job right there. And, as the tires were out, those moves get harder and harder to make. You see Van Schaik here. He has moved his way to the top of the racetrack. I think this is a little interesting. This was one of the things that I mentioned we might see earlier. And for Van Schaik, here's how it works. It's a little slower in the corner because he's taking the longer way around, but he gets a lot of momentum down the straights, and that run is what's been able to keep him even with Beverly. But now Beverly's going to try it the other way around. He'll jump to the outside. And so that should give Mark Beverly the advantage in the Milwaukee Tools number 55 Ford Mustang right here through 3 and 4. We'll see if he has enough to get clear the 23 down the front stretch. And indeed he does. Mark Beverly, not by much. Well, he got clear, but he decided not to take it. That might have been a wise idea there as Van Schaik dove it in pretty deep. So Beverly's going to have to continue to work on this 23 car here for another lap. And watch, take notes about that pass right there, though, for Mark Beverly if he gets it done. Drivers behind, even drivers ahead if they can see it in the mirror, they're going to be watching here to try to figure out what lanes are best for passing. We haven't seen a ton of it yet. But man, I mean, you got to give it to the 23 here of Van Schaik. Looked like with the way Beverly caught him, Beverly would just march right around, but that has not been the case yet. The 55 of Mark Beverly is still trying to hang on the outside, but the 23 still stays strong on the inside. And at some point here, something's going to have to give. Beverly is either going to have to send it in a little bit harder on entry, hope it sticks, or 23 is going to have to try a slide job of his own. Almost a little more contact right there. And the more they race, the more they fall back from your top three. Now sitting over a second and a half back from third place running car of David Traylor. Van Schaik slides up a little bit. Was that finally enough for Beverly to get clear? Yes, it was. Mark Beverly got clear down the backstretch. Still, though, didn't decide to dive low, so he's going to have to hope he gets it again here down the front stretch this time. And he will. The 55 now finally going to pull clear by enough to go back to pretty much whatever lane he wants to work with right here. And you see the 55 chooses to go to the middle. Redinger goes up top. The 23 Van Schaik on the bottom. And now back up front for Colton Hardy. with 14 laps to go on the stage. He's watching that time clock, and it's starting to count back down, going in the wrong direction as the 97 still looks pretty smooth up front leading this race, but Joe Yates has kind of brought it back down from almost a second to 7/10 of a second as David Traylor closes it back in on the front two as well. He's got it down to 0.8 of a second on your leader, 0.2 of a second on second place. And so if Traylor's able to get to Yates here, you got to ask yourself, what does he do? Does he really push the issue here and try to make Yates slip, try to get racy with him, or does he just try to stick behind Yates as long as Yates is catching his teammate? See if they can get up there before they really start getting to the battling portion of it. And 12 laps to go on the stage. Of course, you could decide to pit here. I don't really see much gain. Of course, you could flip a little bit of track position if you decide to pit at the end of the stage, but you figure if these drivers can make it, I don't know if I had to guess, 95% fuel, probably in the 70 lap range. That'd be my general guess. And that would set us up for what would be just a one-stopper during that final stage. And again, I say 70 laps. They may be able to go a little bit more. I don't know if it's really going to be much less. Maybe a little bit less, but I think they should be able to go at least 60 laps, maybe borderline 70. We'll have to find out. Maybe it is in the 60s. Either way, I think it's going to be a one-stop race is the point that I'm trying to make here. And so with that stage break being on 50, the only thing you're really fighting for here is some stage points. And if you're Colton Hardy, again, coming off that win, just keep that momentum rolling here. And he's going to have to really fight for it, though, because that gap now between first and second is down to half a second. And David Traylor is looking equally as fast as the second-place car of Joe Yates. Traylor's going to take a peek to the bottom right here. He's going to look in the mirror, try to make sure that he can judge that run and see exactly what it's looking like. And, in fact, looks like for Traylor here, he is frozen up. We'll try to refresh him here. And right as we do, see David Traylor still working nice and smooth now, but back up to second. This is what we talked about early in this run, that for David Traylor, he was probably sitting back to save some tire. Now that he's done that, he's going to try to hunt down his teammate, the 97 of Colton Hardy, with what is now going to be just 8 laps to go here in stage 1. Joe Yates in third, and uh-oh, caution, trouble. We've got some trouble further back. 2 cars around, Jesse Wise and Evan Schilling. And man, this was a late, unexpected caution in the stage right here. Looking over at the driver cam, saw a little shake of disgust from David Traylor. He's not too pleased because he knows that he had a great shot at a good battle for the end of that stage. But with this caution now, it's going to set us up for a really, really short restart. As, man, looks like the 18 of Schilling was crab walking. So that means he must have got hit in the rear suspension or hit the rear suspension pretty darn hard here. Let's watch it first from the chopper view. That's the 69 of Jesse Wise on the outside. There's the 2 of Jay Stinson in tow behind. And looks like, ooh, a little bit of netcode between those two initially, and then just can't get off of each other. Eventually the 18's going to get turned around here, and he gets pushed up in the fence. Yeah, that was a pretty hard shot. A left rear suspension, lucky to not get hit. Nice piece of driving there by Haas Beverly to avoid it. So I think the 69's okay. It was really the 18 here who took the biggest shot. Watch it again from this angle here, TV1. It's just 2 drivers fighting hard there. And again, it looked like Schilling dived it in on the bottom. I'm not sure if the 69 of Wise wasn't expecting him to come up, but it doesn't really look like the 18 of Schilling does move up much, if any, here. Watch it from the chase cam. Actually, we'll go back to the chopper view. So you see the 18 here. He's going to drive down. He's got kind of straddling that white seam, and then maybe drifts up just a little bit. But yeah, that looks more so like Jesse Wise coming down. And then, like I said, he gets caught in the right rear by a little bit of netcode and turns him right around, takes a big hit at that Iowa Turn 4 safer barrier. And another couple of looks at it here. Yeah, Evan Schilling, major contact. I'm surprised that car is not more destroyed than it is. When you hit here, you know it's going to be a pretty hard hit. We talked about it's a short track, but they're still running pretty high speed here. And then Haas Beverly, man, right there at the last second. What a piece of driving to miss this one. So we go hop on board with Haas Beverly now. Watch it here. This is 22. He's going to see it. He sees it a little bit late. He's hoping 18 slides down, realizes he's not, and whew, man, he might have even scraped the outside wall there. Again, Haas Beverly, that could have been a whole lot worse. Nicely done. As we look at another view here. Oh, never mind. I thought that view was going to give us a little something better to work with, but it doesn't. So we'll watch it from TV2 once more. And go all the way back here to Evan Schilling. Watch that hit. Bam. Look at the front tires lift up off the ground as Jesse Wise piles into the safer barrier as well with nowhere to go. So that is what ultimately brought out the first caution here of the night, as We go back up front, and it is David Traylor being scored as your leader. Joe Yates second, with Mark Beverly in third, Charles Van Schaik fourth, and Jesse Calloway rounding out your top 5. You might be wondering what happened to the 97 of Colton Hardy. He decided to go in for 4 fresh tires and some fuel, and so he is now back to 15th. Going to have a lot of ground to make up in a really, really short amount of time. That was kind of the split decision here that we got with this yellow flag, is you had drivers that decided to go in and pit, and then you might have had some drivers that decided to either not pit or not take all 4. Let's see right here. So this is going to be the pit stop here. Let's see who decides to come in and who doesn't. Well, take that back. Looks like Traylor and company did pit, so I wonder if Hardy meant to pit, didn't, and then felt like he had to. I'm not sure. But either way, it turns out they did pit, and that's an interesting choice. Again, we said 4 tire sets at the beginning of the race. That includes the one that you start this race on. So in total, you've got 3 tire sets sitting in the pits. I don't know if that was the call, if these drivers indeed took tires right there. I think that you save them until we get to the stage break here, which is only going to be in a few laps. But of course, if you're racing for stage points, and that of course changes up your mindset a little bit more, maybe a little more aggressive in terms of the strategy call to get these stage points. And so we'll see how it pans out for them right here as lights are off. That means we're going back green. It's going to be 47 laps complete, and that'll mean just 3 laps to go here in the stage. All right, Mark Beverly, Joe Yates, second and third. What can they make happen right here? Fresh tires and a sprint to determine your stage 1 winner. All right, here we go. Pace car pulls off. Back into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back in the air at Iowa. 3 laps to go in the stage, and it's a great restart for David Traylor. I saw a little bit of checking up further back on the outside line. Traylor is not going to concern himself with that, though, right now. The 54 is going to try to see if he can pull away from the rest of the field here down the backstretch. And the more they race out back, the more it allows this 54 to continue to extend that lead now, as the 87 of Joe Yates on the outside. He'll drift up to the wall. Can the 87 make a run at this 54 before the end of the stage? We saw Traylor saving tire during the last run, so we really didn't get to see the full extent of this 54 car's short run speed. We know Joe Yates had short run speed because he had to make up a bunch of positions in a pretty short amount of time. 87 now closes it in just a little bit more. The gap is 0.2 of a second between first and second, as David Traylor going to see the white flag right here in the stage. 1 lap to go. If you're David Traylor, even though that gap's not much, I think it's enough here as long as he doesn't make any major mistake. But here comes Joe Yates back on the bottom. The 87 tried a little bit of a diamond approach that time. Yates going to have one more shot, but it's not going to matter because caution is out. We will not make it back to the line to determine the stage. And oh man, Colton Hardy and the 53 Bill Hales, the 2 cars involved in this one here. It's not sure what happened to the 97, but that is a really, really unfortunate mistake here. It's not sure what happened to Colton Hardy, but he has unfortunately disappeared here from our driver cam for the moment. Either way, while we await, let's go back and take a look here at what exactly happens to Hardy, as you saw him pop back up right there. But he's going to be working on to the backstretch. And ooh, the 53 of Bill Hales, he just loses it. Looks like by himself, unless there was some prior contact, but I don't believe there was. I think the 53 here is just going to get loose and then unfortunately loop it around. Watch it here from the cockpit view for Bill Hales. And so he's in 16th. And yeah, back tires just start to spin. Car snaps out from under him, and then Colton Hardy nowhere to go, makes some contact, and then slides to a halt before hitting that inside concrete barrier. So that's the good news if you're Colton Hardy, that you didn't get any further damage there. More so a slide and maybe burns up those set of tires that you were trying to use for the stage, but it's not going to matter anyway at this point, as again, Colton Hardy involved in this incident. So as we go back up front, 51 laps complete, stage is officially over. David Traylor is your stage winner. So while we await these pit stops, everybody to get back out here and get ready for the start of the final stage, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, but you won't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Iowa.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive. especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway, where the first stage has been completed. David Traylor is your stage winner. 2 cautions for incident in that first stage. And, of course, the second one for incident led us to the end of the stage. And so as we get ready to get back to green flag racing, up front it'll be David Traylor and Joe Yakes. Row 2, Mark Beverly and Charles Van Schaik. And back in row 3 is Jesse Calloway alongside the 19 of Justin Parham. And so now, as we get ready to go back green, looks like it's going to set us up here with about 120 laps to go, maybe just a little bit more. And again, that will be at least one pit stop. I believe it'll only be that one pit stop, but if it's close, see if these drivers have to either pit twice or save a little fuel. Here we go. Final stage at Iowa is underway. And it's a good restart for the 54 of David Traylor. He'll take the point early here down into turn number 1. Joe Yakes and the 55 of Mark Beverly side by side just behind him now. And these restarts so important, especially when you know that you're not guaranteed another one. We saw a couple of cautions, so you can't rule it out, but look at Justin Parham go. Man, the 19. How about that? He saw the inside check up a little bit, and he rolled up top. The 19 gets clear. 2 of them, Calloway and Van Schaik. And now, all of a sudden, now that Parham's got himself back inside the top 5, do we see this 19 car finally start to come alive here tonight? Oh, big slide right there out of the 92 of Clinton Woodby. Good save off of turn 2 as he got a little bit loose. Kenneth Redinger trying to catch up to his teammate there. The 2 of Stinson. Dylan Paws is going to take that spot. Ooh, Paws actually gets into the wall right there as he slid up in front of Stinson. I don't think Jay probably liked that too much, but he'll let the 10 go without any further incident either way. And you see Woodby a little bit further up there in the neon orange Supra. And for Woodby, it looks like he's really starting to, I don't want to use the word struggle because it may just be the way the car is driving for him, the way he likes to drive it, but boy, it has really looked like he slid a couple of times, big time, off of turn 2 over the course of the last few laps. And so, man, for Clinton Woodby here, he's got to be careful. Looks like the 92 starts to settle back down. Actually, you notice here, and we'll hop on the onboard view, not just for Woodby, this is for everybody, but Iowa's not the smoothest racetrack in the world. I know it's a short track, high speeds, but look at some of the bumps here that these guys go over down in the corners. And these Xfinity cars, very floaty. So you feel those bumps, but the way it actually affects the car is a little different than, say, it would affect maybe the next gen, for example. Either way, Clint Woodby still going over those bumps and the car bouncing around a little bit, especially through 1 and 2. Maybe not quite as bad in 3 and 4. So as Yates crosses the line, how about that? Didn't even see it. We turned our attention a little bit further back quickly, and he has taken the lead as we're getting reports of some trouble here for Jesse Wise, who may have went through the front stretch grass, took a detour. Let's go back and see if that is indeed the case for the 69. Yes, it is. Watch Jesse Wise here as he's working his way off of turn 4. You're going to see the 69 start to come around and eventually takes a ride through the grass, saves it. A really nice save indeed by Jesse Wise, but you wonder if, you know, they're on slightly older tires. Is that still the case? Is he able to save that race car? Either way, the 69 of Jesse Wise able to hold on for now. 61 of 177 laps complete. Joe Yates again, he is your leader, and I'm really curious to see how this works. We got to kind of see the, you know, I guess I should say the head of a long run, not the tail end so much, but more so the front end of a long run there during that first stage as David Traylor was starting to reel back in Joe Yates and, of course, the 97 of Colton Hardy before we got that caution. But now that Joe Yates hasn't, you know, had to worry about making up 8 positions before getting to the lead this time around, I wonder if him creating this gap is, you know, not necessarily one that's going to fade like we see it normally do, but maybe he holds on to this gap until we get to that green flag stop. Either way, David Traylor feeling like we could see a long green flag run, and he wants to save his stuff, make sure that he can make it on a one-stopper for fuel, and then, of course, make sure that he's got some tire to work with here at the end of this first run. And so for David Traylor on the 54, he's looking at his windshield, but he may also be looking out of his mirror here pretty soon, because here comes the 55 of Mark Beverly. Beverly trying to get another podium finish. Had a great week last week at Talladega, was able to get himself onto the podium. And then, of course, this week, a track that he said he really likes at Iowa. He's going to be looking to see if he can kind of live up, not to the hype, but more so what he feels his chances are here. The 87 of Yates, I mean, he has just been, he's easily been, I think, you know, the biggest mover here tonight. Obviously, he's up 10 from where he started, but he's really been the smoothest driver in the circuit. So on the circuit so far here tonight. Michael Newman, by the way, I said Yates was your biggest mover. I take that back. Yates is up 10 from where he started. Michael Newman is actually up 11 positions from where he started this race at. So nicely done right there to Michael Newman. And by the way, we try to mention points just about every race, and after last week, if you're curious about what points are looking like, Charles Van Schaik being scored as your points leader. And then right now sitting in the second spot for points is David Traylor. Shouldn't be a big surprise there. Matthew Fritz third in points, but I don't believe he's here tonight, so that's going to cost Fritz potentially a position. Kenneth Redinger fourth, and then Colton Hardy, after grabbing that win, is currently fifth in points, with Clinton Woodby back in sixth, Haas Beverly seventh. So we'll keep an eye on all these drivers to see how those points shift here tonight. But again, we're not closing in on the end of the regular season yet. We're kind of in that middle slump, if you will. So still a long ways to go. When you get to that middle slump, it's really just every race starts to feel like a grind. You're just trying to make it through, get a good finish. There's tracks in here drivers don't like, and at the same time, there's tracks where, you know, there's big opportunities, such as Talladega last week. And Talladega, of course, we talk about opportunity, and opportunity tracks bring opportunities for drivers to grab their first wins. And tonight, though, Joe Yates or David Traylor win. Of course, that would not be either of those two's first win. Mark Beverly, though, in the 55, boy, he would really, really like to get one here tonight. And the speed right now, at least, for the 55, it's there. He's showing that he's got the pace to get up here and fight with these guys, but still going to have to wait for that 87 to kind of fade back to these two a little bit before they're really able to make anything of it. And if you're the 87 of Joe Yates, you're thinking the complete opposite. You're saying, you guys, go ahead, race each other as aggressive as you want. And if you're the 87 of Yates here, I think since you've already got that gap up to a second, you got to make a decision here pretty soon. Either just try to go for stretching it out as much as you can, or since you got that much breathing room now, try to save a little bit of tire here, because you know you're probably going to need it, especially as the laps start to wind down in this race. Or I guess I should say wind down in this run. As remember, we went back green with about 54 laps complete, and we are now at 70 laps complete. So we're getting close to 20 laps under a green flag run here. That would be our second longest green flag run after, of course, the first one we had here tonight to kick off the race, which was about 42 laps straight of green flag racing before we had that first incident, which brought out the caution, had a restart, got a second incident that took us to the end of the stage. And since then, things have been all clean and green. And really, the only incidents I think we have a chance to see here tonight was on restarts. I've been proved wrong already a couple times, but see the forward Jesse Calloway alongside Michael Newman. This is where things get a little dicey. Not so much right now, but as the tires wear out, and we kind of saw that to a degree via trigger of that first caution, it gets really hard to run through the corner, much less run side by side, especially if you got a guy running you really close. So watch out here as, Clinton Woodby looked like the 92 thought about trying to take the air away from the 20 of Redinger right there off of 4. Redinger wasn't having much of it, but looks like he did decide to cut Woodby a break. And so No More Motorsports currently sitting back in the 8th and 9th spot. Charles Van Schaik is back in 10th. Actually, that's Colton Hardy in 10th. Charles Van Schaik is in 11th. So Joe Yates now, this time, he'll officially see 75. Actually, that's 74. Next time around, it'll be 75 of 177 laps complete. Slowly but surely now, we're getting closer and closer to that 100 lap to go mark. And man, upcoming schedule, there's a lot of really crazy races. I think one of the ones that's coming up that I'm really excited to broadcast, I'm sure a lot of drivers are excited to run, is going to be Michigan International Speedway. And these Xfinity cars, I mean, you see how much of a challenge they are on short tracks. Imagine, you know, how much of a challenge they're going to be on a track where you're going a lot faster and really you feel like you have pretty much the same amount of grip. It is going to be pure chaos, as right now for Joe Yates, there's no chaos. It's just him, a second lead, and then David Traylor behind. And for David Traylor, he's trying to hold off Haas Beverly, who sits only about a tenth or two back. I mean, Mark Beverly is trying to get closer to put the pressure on. Actually, I said a tenth or two. I should say about a second, 1.2 seconds or so. But Mark Beverly is trying to track him down. He's up a spot from where he started this race at. And again, the question is just going to continue to go back to, well, actually, we'll go ahead and hold on to that thought right now. Justin Parham's in 4th. Michael Newman's in 5th. Those two 2x2. And then still more side-by-side out back, which will now quickly single file back out. Just like that, we are officially at 100 laps to go here at Iowa. And they're going to go by quick, too. This is where you're starting to think about when you're going to make that final stop. And you know it's the money stop, so you're going to have to be perfect. So as right now, all things considered, looks like they're staying pretty perfect up front. We're going to go ahead and take a side-by-side break. We'll be back. Stick with us here at Iowa.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway. There's two of your driver cams here tonight. Jesse Wise, Colton Hardy. Colton Hardy, though, right now, the man that we've been keeping an eye on while we were on this side-by-side break, because he's in a pack here. And this pack, they've all been going at it here for about a handful of laps or so. Nobody really wanting to give here. And sooner or later, something has to. I mean, I know the tires aren't as worn out yet as they're going to be, but, I mean, you figure 86 laps complete. We're getting, 30-plus laps in on this run. So like I said, eventually somebody's got to fade, either on the inside or the outside. Question's going to be who and where. And once we get closer to that lap 100 mark, that's when we start to talk about pit stops a little bit more. But again, as of right now, I would think if you're trying to make this on a one-stop, maybe we start seeing those pit stops right around, if I had to guess, maybe lap 107, 117, kind of between that window, that 10-lap window. But it just depends on how much you can make. Now, if they have to pit before a certain lap number, then, and I would say that's probably before that window that I just named, then that's where I would start to think that maybe they're not quite good to make it to the finish, and we'll have to go from there. The 87 of Yakes, though, up front, still being scored as your leader, but David Traylor has been reeling him in, and again, the man, the king of the long runs, it seems like, in the series, is going to strike again by saving tire, just keeping that guy kind of in the windshield, even if it's faint. And now that the tires have worn out, look at this. 54 Trailer's going to go up here and try to give it to the 87 of Yakes. David Traylor, one of the White Knuckle Racing drivers. Joe Yakes, one of the Loose Lug Nuts Racing drivers. And if you're Yakes here, it's an interesting scenario because I talked about earlier, maybe if you're the 87 of Yakes, you give David Traylor a favor and let him back by here since he let you by earlier. But I don't think you can right now because, like I said, we're coming up on that pit stop in, 20 to 25 laps maybe. And that's really not that long here. That'll go by pretty quick. So if Yakes, each lap that Yakes fends him off here, first off, David Traylor's tires are going to wear out more, but also that's less than an advantage that the 54 can build as well. Just as I say that here, looks like Traylor is finally going to get clear, so he'll put all questions and doubts aside for now. So now if you're Joe Yakes, just try to keep him as close as you can. Minimize the bleeding here until we get to that final pit stop. As you see a couple of the Noma Motorsports teammates sitting up here in the top 5, but it is still Mark Beverly who is in third in the number 55 Milwaukee Tool Machine. And then you've got Jesse Calloway. Look at this group still going at it. This time it's Clinton Woodby, though, at the front, the man on the inside. Charles Van Schaik on the inside as well. As they dive into 3 and 4, just really no advantage to be gained here. I mean, you can tell that the 4 is on the outside, but you can also see at the same time, oh, Calloway gets in the wall. Well, that's not going to matter anymore. I was going to say Calloway pinches that 92 down in the corner. It makes it hard for him to really slide up the way he would need to off the corner. But now it looks like the 92 took advantage of the little slip up there from the 4 of Jesse Calloway. And that'll get him back in good position now as Charles Van Schaik hoping he could slide up in front of Hardy. Man, he really, really tried right there to slam the door. Came up just a little bit short. And we'll hop on board here with Charles Van Schaik for a lap as he sees the Noma Motorsports driver of Jay Stinson just in front of him. And if we transition it over to the right front, right rear, there's the 97 of Colton Hardy there. You can see him faintly in the distance, but watch as they come up here off of turn 3 and 4. Let's see. Is Van Schaik able to get clear? Does he have to worry about Hardy again? The answer is yes, he will have to worry about him again. Here comes Colton Hardy with another big charge on the outside line. Doesn't look like he's quite going to be able to get it. And now finally the 23 does. He got it through 1 and 2 actually. That was a really nice move right there. Colton Hardy's going to try it now on the inside himself. See if he can't get back around the 23. We have not seen too much usage of the slide job here tonight where you dive it in deep, hope it sticks. David Traylor did a little bit of a mini one there to take the lead on Joe Yakes when we saw that pass. But I would say for the most part that's been about it. Everybody else has been extremely respectful of each other in terms of how they go about passing. And so you always love to see that as we check on the rest of the field now at the back. In the 19th position right now is Evan Schilling. Keith Prince, by the way, in 20th, did not return to the race, so Evan Schilling, the last car on track, 2 laps down after being involved in that incident earlier. He did take his fast repair, but unfortunately still lost this amount of time in the process. And then you've got Jesse Wise sitting in 18th. Rick LePage is in 17th. Still in pause in 16th by himself. Jonathan Herbert 15th, but Jonathan Dominic's in 14th. And then it's Haas Beverly in 13th with Bill Hales 12th. Michael Newman 11th. Colton Hardy is in 10th. And then we've been watching the rest of your top 10 as they've been battling pretty fiercely here over the course of the last handful of laps or so. But it looks like they've started to at least single file it out. I don't know about space it out, though, as we're getting closer and closer now to that lap 100 mark. And by the way, I wanted to go back here to Evan Schilling, where we talked about being involved in that incident and running kind of where he is right now as a byproduct of that, but just out here trying to scrap for some points. It's a good strategy. Get what you can where you can get it. You never know how much points are going to matter at the end of the season when it's time for playoffs. So I like that Evan Schilling's still out here trying to make something happen. And when they hit the lap 100 mark, again, that'll mark somewhere between, oh man, right around 15 laps or so, I would have to guess, until we're going to see that first pit stop. So as we await here, and as they're single file, let's hop over, take a look at the remaining schedule here for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. And again, tonight we're at Iowa, so next week it's going to be off to Charlotte Motor Speedway, followed by Gateway after that. And then we head to the Milwaukee Mile. That'll be another short track, going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Then we have Thanksgiving off on November 29th. Then it's off to some of the bigger tracks again. Atlanta Motor Speedway will kick off that streak with Old Atlanta, the legacy version. And then Michigan International Speedway on December 13th, followed by Texas Motor Speedway, the legacy one. Boy, that's going to be interesting because if you remember, Legacy Texas has the same banking in 1 and 2 as it does in 3 and 4. That is an extraordinarily fast track. So that's going to be a really, really interesting one. And then we have Christmas off. Pocono kicks off the new year, followed by Bristol, another short track, and then Talladega Super Speedway again to round out the regular season. The round of 16 will start off at Kansas Speedway, followed by Auto Club, and then Darlington. The round of 10 will shift to Kentucky Speedway, followed by Daytona International Speedway, and then North Wilkesboro. And last but certainly not least, we'll wrap things up at Homestead Miami Speedway with the Championship 5. Again, it was at Kansas last season, but with the way we saw guys being able to rip the wall, I think Homestead is the next best thing. So that should be a fun one to watch. Looking forward to it. As, getting reports here, Jesse Calloway may have had a brief issue. What happened here is, looks like Calloway's okay, but he is a little bit slow right now. So I gotta think that's an indication that the 4 got loose off of one of these corners and had to make a wicked save. Let's check it out here. Yeah, sure enough, off of turn 4. We talk about it being kind of an arc off the corner. And so you don't really, it helps you out a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if the car's loose, it's still loose, and then right as he tries to get back in the throttle, just loops it around. Has to go through the grass a little bit, but does hang on. Is able to get back on track, get up to speed, keep the car clean. All right, so David Traylor still being scored as your leader, now 104 of 177 laps complete, and the QH Design 150. And the Asphalt Outlaws Racing community would like to, of course, thank all the sponsors that helped make it possible. QH Design, the winning bid. Of course, QH Design, the sponsor of tonight's race. But also the winning bid, like I said, for all the support that they provide, everything that they do. Any of the little side sponsors that help make it possible. And, of course, all the drivers. A big part of what makes this race and this series what it is. Can't forget about Mueller Custom Homes. Another one of the new sponsors that jumped on board this season and has sponsored quite a few races so far. And so as they cross the line now, it'll be 106 laps complete. We're getting closer and closer to that final pit stop. I would think now it's going to be right around 5 to 10 laps. I'm going to say more so 10 laps away from when that window kind of opens to maybe want to go in and make that final stop. And David Traylor here, you see him getting passed by Jesse Calloway. That's because I believe Calloway may have went into the pits here to take tires after that incident that he had. Let's see if that is indeed the case here for Jesse Calloway. Yes, it is. And so this is kind of interesting because even though Calloway isn't fighting for the lead, he's going to show you just what tire fall off is looking like here. Guys, look at the lap times for Jesse Calloway. That last lap was a 24.219. You compare that to David Traylor, and his last lap was a 24.903. So the fall off not as bad between Jesse Calloway and David Traylor as I kind of would have thought it would be, but it's still inching closer to a second. And I would think for the top drivers right now, it probably is over a second. Of course, Calloway still finding some speed as those tires continue to warm up, continue to come up to pressure. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Again, you're watching the QH Design 150 for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series here at Iowa. Been a great race so far, and we've still got what's going to be about 67 laps to go in this race. When they cross the line this time, in fact, there'll actually be 68 laps to go. So a little bit over the distance that we went in stage 1. To wrap this up, matter of fact, about 19 laps over the distance we went, but we think that window is going to open around 60 laps to go, at least the safe spot. Now, of course, if you want to short pit it, if you're Joe Yates, say, maybe even Mark Beverly, you feel like you're going to kind of need to try some sort of strategy here to make something happen. And yeah, maybe you decide to go in early, play a little defense on the back half of the run, but I think if you're the leader, David Traylor, or if you're Joe Yates and you're just not wanting to lose any more spots, you got to run this one as long as you can so that you can be on offense and be on the attack through the entirety of that final run. Mark Beverly crosses the line, and he's got a little competition now. Here we go. Kenneth Redinger is going to make the dive to the inside. Redinger is up 4 positions from where he started this race at. Actually, he was up 3, looking to make it up 4. And Mark Beverly is going to be able to fend off the charge that time through 1 and 2. Will that allow Justin Parham to close in on this mix? Probably not, because he's in a little bit of a battle himself. Jesse Wise in the 69 right now is on the outside. And for Jesse Wise, he is not currently on the lead lap, so that's not for position, but Woodby and Charles Van Schaik certainly are. And so as Wise will fade out of the picture here just a little bit, Van Schaik still strong on the bottom, Clinton Woodby in the middle, and the 19 of Parham, who's leading this little trio, still running up top. David Traylor in the 54. He'll drive back up. And man, look at the gap that he's created now between first and second. A second and a half. And remember, this is, you know, really kind of the thick of the long run here. I mean, this is where if you're thinking the car's going to fall off, it should have fallen off by now. So far for David Traylor, it seems like the handling's still pretty good. And a lot of that is thanks to him saving tires early on. You see, actually, almost looks like the car is getting a bit tight on him now. Interesting swing of things. I would have thought it would have went the other way, but based off the amount of wheel input he was putting to the left right there, I would think that the car is starting to tighten up. The more it tightens up, the harder it is to get it to turn. So you see him kind of run in the middle of the racetrack. And so we'll see if David Traylor, what pitch strategy he decides to go with. If he decides to try to match Joe Yates. Well, it's kind of hard for him to match Yates, I guess I should say, if he runs one that Yates matches, or if he tries something different and maybe goes a little bit earlier, a little bit later. Again, my prediction now is that he would go in a little bit later than the people behind him, but we'll have to see what the 54 decides to do, as he now has a 2-second buffer over Joe Yates. Redinger, by the way, was able to complete that pass on Mark Beverly, so now he has himself up to third, looking for second here. And man, how about that? All of a sudden, Redinger has found some life here late in the run. The 20 car, if he can get around the 87, that'll again put him up to second. A great spot to be in before we get to this final pit stop. And this will be kind of that money lap where I think that window opens up. When David Traylor crosses the line this time, that'll be 117 laps complete. That'll put us at 60 to go. And I think that is a very, very safe area if you decide that you want to go in for fuel. Tires to be good to go to the finish without having to run too many laps. I mean, at this point, you're going to be basically running. You've already ran over 70 laps now since we went back green just about. I take that back. They've actually ran just over 60. It'll be 70 here if they run another 5 to 10. And so you're kind of at that point now where you've split it in half just about. It's all about when you decide to bring it down. Still, doesn't look like any of the front runners have decided to do that just yet. Clinton Woodby trying to put Justin Parham under fire right here. So 92 takes a look to the inside. Is he going to get there? Looks like he does, but he's not able to hold it. He'll have to drop back in behind the 19 of Parham here. And so for Clinton Woodby, we've seen him get the job done before in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series, but looking to see if he can get it done again here this season. Of course, he got the job done in the Clash, but we haven't seen him in victory lane since then. Let's see if maybe tonight's his night. As David Traylor, though, who continues to lead, now has his gap up to just about 2.5 seconds. So as things continue to spread out more and more here at Iowa, we're going to take another quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Iowa.
played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Come back to Iowa Speedway just in time for a big race-changing development. Caution is out right as we were getting ready to come back from break trouble for it looks like maybe Jay Stinson and Justin Parham potentially. And oh boy, this is going to change some things up now. As we had some drivers who had already made a pit stop. You had other drivers getting ready to make a pit stop and right at 50 laps to go too. And if you haven't made a pit stop yet, I got to think you're going to be in the catbird seat here, but we'll have to see. As let's go back and take a look at what brings out the third caution here of the night. Watch Jay Stinson here. See if he's a part of this incident. Got reports that he may have been. And what the actual incident is. Oh, that's what it is. The two car spins around, and as he comes down, I believe that's going to be the one that actually draws the caution here. In fact, we'll go to the cockpit view to see if we see the caution lights on. Maybe not. It was still green at this point. I'm watching here. Still green, still green. So that kind of begs the question of, well, what brought out the caution? It looks like Stinson gets back into it here. He's okay. So that was the spin for Jay Stinson. And, oh, gets up into the wall here. Did Jesse Wise potentially have an issue? I don't believe so. I'm really not sure what the caution was actually brought out for. We'll look at it there in a minute. But this was, by the way, you saw the 19 car with damage. This was how he got that damage. As the 19 just gets loose out of four, slides, and then overcorrects and up into the outside wall. Wow, that was a really big hit. Justin Parham, it destroyed the front end of that race car. So wouldn't be shocked if he had to go in to take a fast repair after that contact. But then let's go see here if we can actually pick out what brought out the caution here. Again, I mean, I was looking around. I didn't see any incidents here. I wonder if the caution was brought out for one of those incidents that happened. Ooh, that was one slow on the apron right there, Michael Newman. So did the 12 have a potential issue here that led to the caution? I think he does. Sure enough, Michael Newman coming out of the corner right here, and it's a 12 car, just a little too eager beaver on the throttle. Starts to spin, overcorrects back into the outside wall, and then eventually car loops down. And it's pretty big damage there on the right front. So, man, a lot of drivers getting really out of shape and a couple spins there before the caution actually occurred. It was just kind of a matter of time, it must have seemed like. So now this will set us up for a restart with inside 40 laps to go. So I should say with inside 50 laps to go. And right now, Charles Van Schaik is being scored as your leader. Dylan Paws second, Kenneth Redinger third, with Jonathan Dominics in fourth, Mark Beverly fifth, David Traylor in sixth, Joe Yeags seventh with Jesse Calloway in eighth, Colton Hardy in ninth, and Clinton Woodby rounding out your top 10. All right, so 129 of 177 laps complete. Looks like they're going to go back green with about 131 complete. And so that'll be 46, 47 laps to go in this race. Everybody going to be good to go on fuel. It'll be all about now who's got the fastest run for a 40-something lap run and who can save some tire to get to that point. By the way, if you're just tuning in, of course, we appreciate you being here. You're watching the QH Design 150 for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. And by the way, I do want to make a quick note to everybody watching at home. I do have an event that I have to get to as soon as this race is over. And so this is a rarity. We normally don't have this, but tonight, as a result, there will not be post-race interviews. And unfortunately, again, I will not have time. I got to leave kind of banking on this race being over by 10 o'clock in general. So apologies for that. But again, we'll give a quick post-race wrap-up after your winner with the results. And then, again, that will be it for tonight. So apologies that there will not be any post-race interviews for the top three here tonight. We'll be back to regularly scheduled programming next week, if you will, with the interviews, but nonetheless, we'll see what happens. I'll tell you what, if we get this race done soon enough, if I can squeak out enough time and we get a new winner, I'll try, but I just don't think it's going to happen here. I got to be gone soon, so do the best we can. As David Traylor says, boo in the chat. Hey, I get it, man, but it is what it is. Sometimes got to do the best I can with what I've got. And I was lucky that I was able to actually make it here tonight. I was a little worried with the event being when it was. I was going to have to cancel, but I figured that we could get this race in by 10 o'clock. And so I'm committed now. So we're going to be here to the finish. Just not for the post-race interviews. All right, so lights are off. Let's get back to the action on track now. As going to go back green. And Dylan Paws is being scored as your leader all of a sudden here. Interesting turn of events as the 10 car, a little bit of damage to the rear bumper. Looks like he's been getting hit around a few times by other drivers tonight. We'll see what Dylan Paws can do here. I mean, this is where track position's been the most important it's been the entire night. And well, we've got a big shake-up here in the standings of the field. I don't know what is going on. We've got, looks like Evan Schilling up here. He's not even in position. He's multiple laps down. Either way, green flag is back in the air. And it's a good restart for the 23 of Van Schaik. He'll pull clear the 10 of Dylan Paws quickly. Paws going to try to close that gap back up. Looked like the 10 rolled through the center of the corner really, really well. But keep an eye on some of the drivers who have been the ones to watch here tonight. Most notably, of course, the 54 David Traylor. And then the 87 of Joe Yates. They're going to be trying to scream their way through this field to get back to the front. Oh, one spinning. That's Jesse Wise. Jesse Wise through the grass. Did he bounce off the inside wall? He did not. Saved it. He'll work his way back up. Oh, man, now he's going to loop it again. Watch out. This could draw the caution here. Comes to a halt just below the racing surface. At least for now, we stay green. And it looks like we will indeed be able to keep it green. Boy, that was a close call. To see another caution here is for Jesse Wise. Same thing as we saw for some of the drivers coming out of the pits. And what this is cold tires. It's really, really tricky. Cold tires, you feel like you've got a lot of front grip, but rears just haven't warmed up yet. And once you start to go around, it's all about trying to save it from there. Man, for Jesse Wise, right there, lucky to keep it off the inside wall, to say the least. Nicely done. So back up front, Dylan Paws now side by side with your leader, Charles Van Schaik. This could be the battle for the race win. You never know. Dylan Paws is going to send it in deep. Hope it sticks. There might have been a little contact between those two getting into the corner. Paws, big wiggle on exit. He has to catch it and slide back in line behind the 23. Jonathan Dominics, 94, the Canadian driver in the field. He is now up 11 positions from where he started this race at. Another big wiggle and another big save. That was Dominics, who you saw jump out of shape right there off of turn 4. And I think at this point, the tires have come up to temp. I think what it is, though, is, you know, early as a driver, you're content to be kind of conservative. You want to make sure you keep the kart clean. But as we're starting to get into the latter portions of this race, all of a sudden that changes things around. You want to start to be a whole lot more aggressive. And sometimes you just pick up that throttle a little too much too soon. And that could be the results. Here's David Traylor watching out the front windshield at Mark Beverly, and they're both trying to catch everybody else. And in fact, the gap right now from those two to your leader is about 1.8 to 2 seconds, and they've got 40 laps to go up there and make that gap disintegrate to catch up and try to fight for a win in this race. Uh-oh, Jesse Callaway, some trouble here as the 4 spun around on the back, gets it back going the right way, and he'll get back up to speed. Watch out as here comes Jesse Wise catching up. It looks like he'll be able to miss it. And, oh, didn't mean to go that far back. Want to show you here what happened. It's Callaway, this is going into the corner. Does he get a little help? I'm not thinking so. I think he's just going to lose it right here. See the 4 to the center of the corner. Oh, well, he may have actually got a little help here. That's the 92 of Woodby running just above him and fire out of the pipes. And then Woodby right here going to get to the rear and just, ooh, tags him in the right rear bumper. And that sends Callaway kind of in a half spin, if you will, where he eventually is able to loop it back around, get pointed back in the right direction here. All right, so 139 of 177 laps complete. Now just 37 laps to go here at Iowa. And for a short track, so far tonight, this is not disappointing. Remember, I don't want to say it's a small field, but it's a relatively petite field, all things considered. But for a short track, it's a pretty good-sized field. And, I mean, the racing we've seen tonight, like I said, it has not disappointed. We've seen a lot of action in different groups at different points in this race, especially for the, kind of 10th place to mid-teen running positions. And up front, we've seen our fair share of battles as well. But I'm watching David Traylor still 2 seconds back. Mark Beverly continues to make his charge through the field. But, man, Van Schaik, he's come really close to striking and getting his way to victory lane a couple times this season, most notably Chicagoland. Things have not quite worked out just yet for Van Schaik. Who knows, though? Maybe tonight is his night. We'll have to see. He's going to be closing in on 35 laps to go as he crosses the line this time. And if you're Charles Van Schaik, I mean, you've already done everything right this season except get that first win. That's the final checkbox that he really needs to kind of mark off here. Dylan Pause, though, still fighting hard for second as he's battling the 20 of Redinger. Redinger, though, looking like he's going to have the preferred lane here down the front stretch. He'll send it off into the corner here to try to stay even with the 10. Dylan Pause, does he try a little bit of a slide job right here? Got the position off the corner. Is going to try to slide up. Sure enough, he does. He'll get back in front of Redinger, who crosses him to the bottom now. Kenneth Redinger in the 20 car. Can he come out of nowhere to get this win? I mean, we haven't talked about him much all night. We started to see him catching up in the really late run before that first green flag stop in the final stage, but that was kind of all we heard about him. Next thing you know, here we are in a little bit of a late race restart, and he has made up 5 positions now from where he started this race at and a few from where he restarted at to get himself all the way back up now into this second position. 0.7 of a second is currently the gap separating him and leader Charles Van Schaik. And so Dylan Pause, who's back to third, is going to be trying to fend off Jonathan Dominick's next, who could be looking for potentially a season best run here if he can pick up a few more spots before this race is all said and done. There's Michael Newman in the 12, who's currently being scored a couple of laps down. Actually, just a single lap down, rather. So Michael Newman here going to be trying to get that lap back. Not sure if he's going to be able to do it. And I don't believe, again, I don't want to say for sure, but I don't believe that any of the drivers have a set of tires left in the pits at this point. And so with that being the case, I would think that the next priority becomes, what do you do if there's a caution? I mean, or sorry, I should say, what are you going to do here in case there is a caution? If you're Van Schaik, are you still pushing for all it's worth, or do you try to back it up, save a little tire in case either Redinger catches you that you have some work with, or, like I said, if you get a caution, that way you still have some tire to use. That will be the big question as we get closer and closer now to the conclusion of this race. 150 miles, but we talked about it being an endurance event at the start. 150 miles over 170 laps is still a long ways, as here's Beverly and Joe Yates still dueling it out. Yates and Traylor have just not been able to find a way around this 55. Yates was able to get around Traylor, but Mark Beverly still hanging really, really tough in that low to middle lane. And they've got to find a way around soon. I mean, they just keep falling further and further back. They're almost 3 seconds behind now as Yates has a big wiggle off the corner. And it's just starting to look more and more like all of a sudden the 3 cars that were arguably the most dominant here tonight may not have a shot at this thing without a caution. And that's what can happen when strategy throws you off your game. Dylan Pause still trying everything he can to hold on here to a podium finish as Jonathan Dominick's trying to close the gap a little bit. There's the onboard view for Dominick's as we go back a few positions here, and Show you the driver cam again of David Traylor, who has himself in that 7th spot, down 6 from where he started this race at. Just continuing to try everything he can to work his way back up to those top 3 positions. Colton Hardy alongside. Looks like the 19 of Justin Parham right there. And Parham right now is 2 laps down. Colton Hardy on the lead lap, so that is not for position. If you're Colton Hardy, still got to feel like you want to get around this 19 pretty soon. Boy, they're racing each other really, really aggressively. 97's going to take another look. Parham will pinch him down just a little bit. And exit of the corner where it's been really tough. And now Colton Hardy going to get a little dory here with the 19 of Justin Parham. This is where you got to be careful. Can start to get some tempers. You don't want to get Justin Parham angry, especially when he's 2 laps down with really nothing to lose here tonight. But I got to think Colton Hardy right now is feeling like, hey man, just let me go. You're 2 laps down. I'm trying to go up there and fight for some more positions. I can't do it though if you keep holding me up. So Colton Hardy will continue the fight, but at least for now, it appears that he has lost the battle. And so when they cross the line this next time around, it looks like that is going to officially put us at 25 laps to go here at Iowa. 25 laps to go, just half the distance that we ran in stage 1. 0.7 of a second, still the gap between first and second. Nobody else in the ballpark, at least not right now. You see Jesse Calloway closing up. That'll be him trying to get his lap back, or at least one of his laps back. Looks like he's only down 1. So if he does that, it'll put him back on the lead lap and move Newman up to the free pass position. Lucky dog, I should say. And so we're going to go ahead and take our final side-by-side break of the night as Van Schaik trying to grab his first win of the season at Iowa. Can he do it? Find out when we come back.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway with the QH Design 150. Just 17 laps to go at the track, just under a mile in length and still high speed. But Van Schaik boy, he's going to have to fight for this one like he has not fought all season, because he's going to have pretty much a back door full of Kenneth Redinger here in just a moment, as Redinger has closed this gap up to about 7/10 of a second, a little bit under. In fact, he got to a second at one point, then closed back down, stretched back out. Now it's closed back down again. And if he had this gap with, 5 laps to go, I'd say he's okay. But 16 laps to go is still plenty of time for Redinger. And that's assuming that the 23 doesn't make a mistake. If Van Schaik makes a mistake, Redinger is going to be there to pounce. The next car back after that is Dylan Pauls, who sits in third. Pauls right now is up 3 positions from where he started this race at, and holding on to that podium spot after initially on the restart falling back a little bit. I thought he was going to maybe continue to fade, but he's done a really, really nice job here of getting himself set in position, and he may be the highest finishing white knuckle racing driver tonight. As his teammates David Traylor, Colton Hardy had a lot of speed early. David Traylor's had speed all race, but just hasn't been able to get back to the front yet, and unfortunately for Traylor here, unless we get a late caution, he's running out of time. That might do it. Watch out. We had one spinning down the front. It's Jesse Calloway. And there it is. Oh, he gets T-boned. Holy moly, big hit. He gets hit a second time. Jesse Calloway. That is going to bring out your 4th caution of the night. Big front end damage and rear end damage for that matter for Jesse Calloway. This car is basically going to have to go in for a fast spare, assuming he's got one. Otherwise, I don't see any way that thing stays competitive. Colton Hardy took a pretty big shot as well here. Let's go back and look at it, though, and I'm seeing Hardy's not too happy here on the driver cams. The reaction saying it all. He's taking the gloves off. He might be done for the night. Let's see how it starts, though. It's going to be Michael Newman, Jesse Calloway down the front stretch. And I thought Michael Newman, he might have been racing Calloway here for the Lucky Dog. That may have been what this is. And let's see here. We'll go to the chopper view. And as he starts to creep up, does the 4 come down? You see the 12 of Newman starts to go down. Maybe a little bit loose right there. He saves it. And then, yeah, it looks like Jesse Calloway is going to try to slot in line right here. And then Michael Newman gets into the left rear there as he gives him a bump and sends Calloway down below the apron, gets in the wall, and then it says he slides back up here. Watch the oncoming traffic. Bam, big hit by Hardy, and then the 2 of Stinson slide in as well. The 53 of Bill Hales couldn't quite get checked up in time. And for Colton Hardy, I got to think he had some sort of help here, coming in as fast as he was, unless he just didn't expect the 4 to slide back up. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, he just didn't expect the 4 to slide back up, and then kind of became a deer in the headlights almost right here. As watch this. 4 slides up, sees it, trying to decide which lane to go with, and just, I've had it happen before. You'd think, why can't he go low or high? You just can't when you're committed to a lane. It's just not easy to turn on a dime in these heavy cars. So that's a really, really unfortunate break right there for Colton Hardy. The winner last week will not have a chance to go back-to-back here tonight. So we watch this incident a couple more times before we set ourselves back up for what is going to be surely a pretty crazy finish now. Look at that big hit. I mean, all 4 tires off the ground for Jesse Calloway. This car bounces around before ultimately setting back down. And then Stinson, car's crab walking a little bit, so he's got some pretty heavy suspension damage as well on his car. So all the damage that these drivers get, they'll have to all try to go in and get fixed up if they can. As, yeah, Bill Hales tried to sneak around the outside there and just, fortunately, couldn't quite squeeze through that gap. All right, so as we go back live now, 11 laps to go. Looks like it'll be more so probably 8 or 9 when we grab the green here. You've got showing David Traylor being scored as your leader. This is really, really interesting here because with the guys that you have being scored up front, it makes me curious onto who decided to bring it down to pit right here. Let's go check it out. Let's see who decided to make a pit stop right here. And again, the drivers that pit here are taking 4 tires, and so they'll have the fresher rubber, but I'm more concerned of if they're going to have enough time. You see David Traylor and a few others follow them down the pits, so then the next question becomes, what did everybody take to kind of flip the track position here? Let's see. There's Van Schaik, who is your leader. Does he decide to take 4 here? That would be the assumption. Whereas maybe a guy like David Traylor, did he potentially decide to only take 2? So watch Van Schaik here as he'll work his way into his pit box. And you'll see David Traylor work into his box as well. You see the right side go up on the 23. Watch David Traylor. Looks like you're going to see the right side go up as well on the 23. The left side pops up. Whereas for the 54 Traylor, 2 tires was the call. Okay, so that answers your question. For some of the drivers who had gotten buried with track position after taking tires last time, they decided to just take 2 tires. Alrighty, boy, that's an interesting call. That's going to really make things interesting here. As now, we'll see if the lights go off this time on the pace car. And if they do, that'll be an 8-lap shootout to decide it here at Iowa. By the way, if you're just tuning in, you picked a good time to do so, as we were getting ready for some late race action here in the QH Design 150 for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. By the way, just in case anybody else missed it earlier, there will not be post-race interviews here tonight. Normally there would. Only reason there's not tonight is I do have an event that I have to attend pretty much right at the conclusion of this race, banking on the fact that it is indeed over by 10, which it looks like it will be. These guys can keep it clean at least. And so again, apologies, but there will not be any post-race interviews here tonight. We'll go over the results and then wrap it up. But that will be it. Next week we'll be back to those post-race interviews. So if your favorite driver wins here tonight, I apologize, but see if they can get it again next week, and we'll still get a chance to hear from them, of course. So, all right, here we go. David Traylor, Joe Yakes, Kenneth Redinger, 3 of the fastest cars here tonight, as is Mark Beverly, who's back there in the 55. 2 tires versus 4 tires. Van Schaik, the first car on 4. What can he do? 8 laps to decide a winner here tonight. Here we go, back into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back in the air at Iowa. And it's a good restart up front. David Traylor got a big jump to make sure he could get a wide arc here down off into turn number 1. And if you're the 54, there's no tire saving at this point. You are trying to set the sails and pull away as much as you can here over the course of these 8 laps. Almost 3 wide, a little further out back. Redinger trying to get to the high side here of Joe Yakes, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it yet. Now he does. They start to squeeze a little bit here. Yakes wanted to cover it, but just couldn't quite do it. Now there's almost some contact there between the 20 and the 87 as they sail off into turn 1. And Redinger just overshot the cushion. He gets into the wall. Redinger is going to fall back a few spots. That'll end his chances. And this is really the fiercest of all the battling right now. David Traylor has already extended that gap up to almost a second with how much they're battling out back. Joe Yakes was finally able to get clear. But is 6 laps enough time for the 87 to reel the 54 back in? It'll be 5 to go next time. Now remember, though, we've got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. That is still a ways away. Dylan Paws, who was set up for a podium finish, now sits back in 5th. Can the 10 fight his way back up for a few more spots to get into the podium finishing position? Oh, Van Schaik gets in the wall. Mark Beverly maybe had to squeeze him up just a little bit right there. And for Beverly here, he's going to creep back down the banking. Oh, trouble out back. Van Schaik trying to save it. Did he hold on? He did not. They're going to wreck him up again. Caution is back out. And we will be headed into overtime. And looks like the 53 of Bill Hales, I'm not sure if he was involved. Let's go back and take a look at it here. All right, so here we go. There's the 23 of Van Schaik running on the high side here. And then as they get into the corner, does he... Oh, did he get some help from Stinson right there? Or actually, I guess that'd be Redinger. Or does he just get a little bit loose on entry here? Let's watch. There's Redinger behind him. Kenneth gets there, and yeah, Kenneth gets him just a little bit in the back bumper as the car's kind of trying to load up into the corner, and that just gets him sideways here. Dylan Paws on the inside. Van Schaik initially saves it. Actually, Van Schaik does save it. Van Schaik drives away. The incident's back here with Kenneth Redinger, who gets loose after the first contact here, and then maybe a little contact from Woodby, although I don't remember seeing contact here between him and Woodby. Watch it slow. Watch Woodby. Yeah, I guess there was. Oh, yeah, there was definitely contact between Clinton Woodby and Kenneth Redinger right there that sends Redinger around. And then the 94, Jonathan Dominic's nowhere to go. He's going to run into the front of the 20. And that's just a byproduct of hard racing at the end here. These late race restarts, this is what happens. Everybody's getting really aggressive and eager, and as he spins, it's going to be pretty heavy damage to the 94 and the 20 on the front end of both of those race cars. We'll see if they pit or try to stay out here for the finish of this one. So as we go back live, nobody going to pit now, of course. You just can't. It's going to be a 2-lap shootout at a short track. Can't give up track position at this rate. And so David Traylor currently in 1st, Joe Yakes 2nd, Mark Beverly in 3rd with Dylan Paws in 4th. And it's Charles Van Schaik back in 5th, Mark Beverly in 6th, Jonathan Dominic 7th with Jesse Wise in 8th, Clinton Woodby 9th, and Kenneth Redinger rounding out your top 10. All right, as they get ready for what could be our final restart of the night, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back. Stick with us at Iowa.
played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway, getting ready for overtime attempt number 1. 2-lap shootout. We got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. And here we go. David Traylor and Joe Yakes lined up 2 by 2 and ready to go. Who's going to win this one? Traylor led the most laps tonight. You got to feel like he wants it more than the rest of them. But we're getting ready to find out. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go at Iowa. And it's a good restart for both cars on the front row. Joe Yakes, that was all he needed in a restart. He was able to stick even with the 54 Traylor through 1 and 2. And now he's going to be able to send him off here through 3 and 4. Can he work up the track a little bit to try to hold Traylor off? Further back, they're still racing hard. Are they going to make it to the white flags? The question, though. No, Beverly's going to get spun. Dylan Pauls turns him. Oh, man, that's not going to go over well. Caution's back out. Oh, no. Mark Beverly. Another one of the cars that have been so good tonight. That one's brutal. At least from what I saw there. Again, maybe there wasn't contact. I'll have to watch it back, but that's what it looked like. Mark Beverly is not going to be happy. Well, let's go back and look at it here since we're talking about it. Let's watch it from the chopper view. All right, so Dylan Pauls is running behind 55 of Beverly here in the corner. And, you know, first off, let's watch from the cockpit view. Does Beverly get loose at all? No. That's pure contact. And you can see that car gets shot around when it's completely fine and stable here. Watch it. Again, there's Dylan Pauls just right there in the right rear. Wasn't much. It was subtle, but still contact nonetheless. It sends that 55 around, and as he gets up the track, here's the onrushing traffic, nowhere to go, and some big hits there. Charles Van Schaik, and then you saw one of the NOMA drivers get turned around. That was Jay Stinson. Man. So the late race drama continues as one of the races that looked like it would be clean at the finish, all of a sudden it started to get a little messy now. Give you one more view of this here from Mark Beverly. Watching in slow motion, there's the contact. Beverly, I mean, he's trying everything to save it, but it just goes around on him so quick. And then here's the onrushing Van Schaik and Haas Beverly plow in with nowhere to go. Haas Beverly, big hit there. You saw a tire temporarily rip off one of these cars. And there's Jay Stinson trying to make it through. I believe that might have been Jonathan Herbert. And he ended up getting tangled up with. And so Mark Beverly now looks like was able to go in and get the damage repaired. 55 back out on track now as we will make our attempt at a second green-white checkered. And hopefully these guys can get it wrapped up because I really need to go. But nonetheless, that 54 David Traylor going to try to see if he can fend him off yet again. And Joe Yakes, I mean, he did everything right on that restart. That was all he could have asked for. And the question is, can he do it again? Because you know that David Traylor's not going to do the same thing on this restart. If he went early last time, he's not going to go early this time. If he went late last time, he's not going to go late this time. He's going to try to change it up, do something that can catch that 87 sleeping and slacking so that he can't get up to him here and try to make a pass. We'll see if we get the one to go signal this time or if we're going to have to go around at least one more time. And by the way, we have a total of 3 attempts at overtime, so if for some reason they can't wrap it up on this one, then we've got one more attempt at it. Dylan Pause in third. I mean, I guess it works out, but when it comes to racing the Beverleys, Dylan Pause has just not been getting along with them too much in the past couple of weeks now. Last week it was Haas, this week it's Mark. Maybe a slight bit of netcode, maybe that amplified that, but it certainly looked like there was still contact. And we looked back at the replays of that incident. And so, I mean, what else can you do? If you're Dylan Pause now, though, it's, you know, it's happened. You can apologize after, but you've got yourself in a podium spot here. You got to fight to try to hold on to it. As it'll be, again, 2 laps to go. Green-white checkered attempt. We'll have to make it to the white flag again for this race to be official. And David Traylor here, I was trying to see if it sounded like he was saving a little fuel. That should not be an issue. Yeah, he's not. Okay. For a second, for some reason, I thought I heard the 54 coasting with the clutch in, but it doesn't seem that that is the case. So lights should go off this time on the pace car. And that will signal 1 to go before we get back to green flag racing. And by the way, Dylan Pause's teammates to David Traylor. So with Traylor being the leader there, I'm sure he didn't want to see that caution either. As there go the lights, and so they'll get back in the 2x2 formation here. And we'll see who's able to fire off better. You see Jesse Wise. How about the comeback for Jesse Wise here tonight? He was a lap down. He's been in multiple wrecks. He's got damage. But here he is in the 3rd, 4th position with a chance to potentially go up here and try to win this race, even with that damaged race car. But I think this is going to be mainly a duel between these front 2. It's going to be kind of the mind games here on the restart, and then who can run a faster 2 laps. If Yakes is able to match him, then it's going to be all about which lane is faster, the bottom or the top. And if Traylor gets the better jump, then Yakes might have to think about using the chrome horn just a little bit if he wants a chance at grabbing a win here tonight. All right, here we go. Field going to start to tighten it back up now. We'll try this one more time as the pace car is going to bring it back down to the pits. Field goes back into the hands of David Traylor and Joe Yakes. Here we go. Green flag is back in the air. 2 laps to go at Iowa. And a great restart that time for David Traylor, the 54. Got all he needed on that one. Yakes couldn't match him. And that will let David Traylor take the lead off into turn 1. Yakes, though, able to get a pretty good 1 and 2. Here comes the 87. He's got to run. Will he think about trying to move Traylor? No, he won't. Instead, he'll dive it off in the inside here. Can he make it stick, though, is the question. Ooh, Yakes tried the slide job. Now he gets tied off of 4. Can he hold even? Here we go. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go at Iowa. Final time down in turn 1 and 2. Joe Yakes on the inside. Traylor run in the middle. Yakes trying to diamond it down on exit. He's still got to run. What's he going to do with Traylor here in the final corner? Does he give him a little shot? Final time as they sail off into 3. Yakes will go to the bottom. Traylor's going to stay up top. Joe Yakes, can he get the hammer down? No, he can't. David Traylor is going to win it at Iowa in thrilling fashion and an overtime finish. How about that one for the white knuckle racing driver? David Traylor is your race winner, as it looked like Beverly made sure to let Dylan Pauls know right there after the race that he was not too happy with him. Watch the 55 here. He's going to drive around. He's looking for him. He's looking. He's going to find him here, and he is going to just drill him right in the back. And Mark Beverly certainly showing his displeasure. All right, as I said, we do got to wrap things up. So as David Traylor will bring it around to celebrate here, take a look at your finishing results. David Traylor, your race winner. Joe Yakes, 2nd. Dylan Pauls, 3rd. Clinton Woodby, 4th, with Kenneth Redinger, 5th. Charles Van Schaik in 6th. Then it's Mark Beverly in 7th, with Jonathan Dominics, 8th. Michael Newman, 9th. And Haas Beverly rounding out your top 10. Jesse Wise finishes 11th. Evan Schilling in 12th. Jay Stinson 13th with Bill Hales in 14th. Jonathan Herbert in 15th. Jesse Calloway 16th. Rick LePage 17th. Colton Hardy finishes back in 18th. Rounding out the field here tonight, Justin Parma 19th and Keith Prince rounding out your top 20. All right, well, what a great race it was here tonight. What a great win it was for David Traylor in the 54. Takes another race this season as he is the winner at Iowa. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be back next week, and until then, have a good night.